Welcome to CRAWMEN. What if the person you trust the most, the one you call your soulmate, is secretly planning your destruction? This is the story of a couple where love hides lies, deception, and a terrifying secret. At the beginning of the story, we see Nick going to his sister's bar. It's his marriage anniversary, 5 years since he got married, but he isn't happy in his marriage. That's why he tells his sister that he might get a divorce soon. He also shares how every anniversary, his wife Amy plays a game with him where she wraps a gift and leaves clues in blue ink for him to find it. But now, their marriage seems to have lost its charm. When Nick returns home, he finds his wife missing and the living room table broken. He calls the police. A detective arrives with her assistant, and while searching the house, she starts suspecting that Nick might be involved in Amy's disappearance. They find clues suggesting Nick and Amy didn't get along well. Nick is a writing teacher, and Amy was once a famous writer in her teenage years. The detective begins suspecting Nick and takes him to the police station for questioning. But Nick doesn't answer their questions properly. Since there's no strong evidence against him, the senior detective lets him go. Because Amy was a bit of a celebrity, the case gets media attention and spreads nationwide. Public suspicion grows toward Nick and his sister, with many thinking they made Amy disappear for money. Nick then starts reflecting on the past. Amy, who was wealthy and famous, married him despite his middle-class background. They both worked in the writing industry, but after the recession, they lost their jobs. When Nick's mother fell ill, he decided to move back with her, and even after her death, he stayed. He wasn't very motivated to work, so Amy opened a bar for him which his sister helped manage. But Nick never seemed interested in putting in effort. His relationship with Amy kept deteriorating. Eventually, Nick gets a teaching job at a college and starts an affair with a student named Andie. Back in the present, the detective finds blood stains at Nick's house, increasing her suspicion. Neighbors tell her that Amy didn't feel safe with Nick, and that's why she had bought a gun. The detective finds a urine sample in the bathroom and sends it to the lab. The report confirms Amy was pregnant. When Nick is confronted, he denies having any such relationship with Amy recently. Now a neighbor shows up claiming to be Amy's close friend. She says Amy always wanted to start a family but couldn't because there was no real relationship with Nick. Nick suspects this woman because he knows Amy never shared personal details with neighbors or made friends easily. He tells the detective this, but she doesn't believe him. Later, the detective finds a burned diary in which Amy wrote that her life was in danger because of Nick. The assistant detective suggests arresting Nick, but they still don't have solid evidence proving he killed Amy. Meanwhile, we see a woman driving a car. It's Amy. She has completely changed her identity. She recalls the day she saw Nick and his student Andie together, standing very close. That day broke her. Despite being rich, she married Nick, supported him when his mom was sick, and even opened a bar when he had no money. But now that he was cheating, she couldn't tolerate it anymore. She also found out that on their anniversary, Nick was planning to divorce her. So she plotted revenge. She started spending heavily using Nick's credit card to make it look like he was careless with money. She made him sign insurance papers to raise her insurance amount, so it would seem like Nick had her killed for the money. Amy befriended her neighbor, who was already pregnant, and told her fake stories about how Nick mistreated her to gain sympathy. She even planted the neighbor's urine in her own bathroom to fake the pregnancy evidence, so that the police would think he killed his wife because she was pregnant, and since harming a pregnant woman is a serious offense, he would receive the harshest punishment. She even draws blood from her body and smears it on the floor to leave traces for the police to find. On their wedding anniversary, she used to play a game with him where he had to find all the clues and gifts, but this time the clues weren't for him. They were for the detective. Nick goes to his sister's shed, where he finds a lot of shopping items, all purchased with his card. When they open the bags, they even find the murder weapon inside. Seeing this, his sister panics because now she too could be suspected. Nick leaves everything there, but the detective who's been tailing him shows up and finds the murder weapon. After that, both Nick and his sister are arrested. But Nick gets bail and returns to New York, where he hires a top lawyer and tells him everything. He even admits he never felt safe with Amy, as she was somewhat psychotic. Nick then meets Amy's ex-boyfriend, whom she had falsely accused of assault and had arrested. From this conversation, Nick realizes that Amy is seeking revenge. He then goes to meet another one of Amy's ex-boyfriends, who is very wealthy. But this ex refuses to talk to Nick because he still loves Amy. Meanwhile, Amy is shown living in a small town. One day, she drops her money and a group of people rob her that night. With no money left, she calls the ex-boyfriend who still loves her. She meets him and tells him that Nick used to torture her and that she left home because she felt unsafe. She says she doesn't want to go back. Her ex takes her to his lake house and offers her a safe stay, saying no one visits the place. In the town, people still believe Amy is alive, so a candle march is held in her memory. Nick gives an emotional speech during the event and says, "Please come back home." Amy's ex-boyfriend sees her reaction in the crowd and realizes she's getting angry. She then reveals to the press that she and Nick had an affair. After this revelation, the public starts hating Nick, believing he either murdered or kidnapped his wife. Nick visits his lawyer, who tells him that all the evidence is against him now. The lawyer suggests he go on a famous talk show and confess that he truly loves his wife and wants her back, hoping that if Amy is watching, she might get emotional and return. Nick goes on the show, acts emotional, and says he misses his wife dearly. Amy, watching the interview, notices he's wearing the same tie she once gifted him. She gets emotional and angry at the same time. Now, Amy wants to return home, but her ex doesn't want her to. She starts feeling trapped and angry at him. Meanwhile, the detective finds Amy's blood on the weapon found at Nick's sister's place, leading to another arrest, but Nick is again released on bail. On the other hand, Amy is pretending to behave well with her ex and acting as if she is complying with his every word, but in reality, she is planning something. When her ex leaves the house, Amy bruises herself and seduces him at night. They get physically close. Later, she kills him and drives straight back home, where the press is already waiting. She reunites with Nick. He realizes this is part of a new plan. Amy is taken to the hospital where she tells the detective that her ex had always been obsessed with her since school. She claims he kidnapped her on their anniversary, hit her with a stick, dragged her to the lake house, and assaulted her. She tells the detective to check the CCTV footage for proof. Amy had intentionally acted in front of the cameras to make it look like she was being held against her will. The detective now starts doubting her and believes Nick might be telling the truth. She questions Amy, "If you were truly kidnapped, how did the murder weapon end up in Nick's sister's shed?" Amy doesn't answer and says, "If I hadn't returned, you would have sent my innocent husband to jail." Then, she pretends to faint. Nick brings her back home and confronts her, saying, "Stop acting. I know you're lying and that you killed him." Amy checks if Nick is recording the conversation. Once sure he isn't, she confesses everything, but she reminds him that no one will believe him now because everyone supports her. She says, "When I saw your interview, I realized you're the only one for me. That's why I came back." Nick decides to tell everything to the detective and lawyer, but the detective says, "We have no solid proof against her. She killed in self-defense, so we can't arrest her." Now, Amy tells Nick to be a good husband and fulfill all responsibilities. Nick starts fearing her. The next morning, a reporter comes to interview them. Amy tells Nick he must go along with all the lies she's planted, that he abused her, that their marriage was failing, but now everything is fine. Nick refuses and says he wants a divorce. Amy then drops a bombshell, "I'm pregnant with your child." Nick is shocked because they hadn't been intimate for months. Amy says, "I inseminated myself with the sperm sample you gave at the fertility clinic." Nick is shaken and says, "You can't do this. I will never stay with you." Amy replies, "You will. The whole world is against you now. When the child is born, I'll make sure it hates you too." Now Nick is completely trapped. He realizes he must stay with her for the sake of the baby. In the end, the couple announces in an interview that Amy is pregnant and expecting a child soon. Nick has compromised for the baby's future and decided to stay with Amy. And that's how the story ends. This movie is a psychological thriller gone girl and it was released in 2014. For more stories like this video, stay connected and don't forget to subscribe to CRAWMEN.